Okay, part two. Last question. Dred Scott was a man who sued for his freedom. What was the outcome of his court case? Now, there's so much about this. Dred Scott was a slave of an army doctor. The army doctor is traveling all around America during his life. If I remember the facts right, the army doctor dies, and Dred Scott decides he doesn't want to be a slave anymore. Why would he? And he decides he should sue for his freedom. His reason was, even though he was a slave, he had been all over the country into states where slavery wasn't allowed. And his argument was, once he went into those states, his slavery should be gone. Now, there's many good things to his arguments, but it seemed like the Supreme Court wasn't really listening to him at all. And they even went further than just talking about his case. They decided to make a big answer for slavery everywhere. And what they said was, no, Dred Scott, you are not free, number one. Number two, because you're a slave, you don't have the right to go to court. So this lawsuit you put together, slaves can't do it. We throw it out. Okay, that's really bad for Dred Scott. But then what they said was even further. They said slaves are just considered property. They have absolutely no rights whatsoever, not just Dred Scott, any slave. And there's nowhere in the country that can say slaves are not allowed in there. So now slavery is allowed all around the United States because of this Dred Scott decision. It's one of the most complex things we have to learn, but what you need to understand, it is one of the most racist things the Supreme Court probably has ever done. I'm looking at the answers here, and I can tell that there is just guessing, probably because it was very difficult. Now, almost half of you got it right. This was the correct answer here. I'm going to try to circle it. Dred Scott did not win his freedom, and now slavery can exist anywhere in the United States. Remember, the North was saying no slavery, absolutely not. We don't want it. That's what this stuff about bleeding Kansas and Nebraska Act was about. And now I cannot scroll up. Give me a second. Okay, you can't see me pointing to the screen, but this is what's happening in Kansas. Is people are going into Kansas to try to make sure there's no more slavery in Kansas, because Kansas is also in the North, and they don't want slavery in the North. And this is what this guy, John Brown, who you guys must have really found very interesting, was all about: preventing slavery in the North. They don't want it. And now the Supreme Court is saying, hey, John Brown, you're wrong. Slavery is good, and you can't stop it. This court case really angered many people. And for the South, it wasn't like they just felt like, yeah, we got what we wanted. They were like, oh my goodness, we get all of this. Wow. It blew their minds. They were super happy. Okay, now I'm going to try to stop the video. Don't know how. You can stop watching the video because the rest of the video is me just trying to figure this thing out. So, everyone having a good day? Don't know if you're still watching it. I'm learning this is harder than I thought. A lot of other people, their eyes are directly at the camera. I keep looking at myself in the little corner, which makes things look kind of silly. It makes it look like I'm not paying attention to you. But I am. Okay, the video is going to end in about 3 seconds. Later.